Good morning, everyone. This is Larry Green with another Professor Green series podcast, episode 2. Today, we're going to talk about culture. What is culture? Culture in the workplace. Everyone talks about it, but really, what is it? We can't touch it or see it, but you can certainly feel it if you're paying attention. Think about any business where you're a client or a customer. How does it feel when you're interacting with an employee? I recently changed dry cleaners. The new one, which I was told about by a neighbor, treats me like I'm their favorite customer. The work is top notch, the service is the best, and the prices are on the high side. They call me when there's an issue with any item, some little thing, some little stain, they need to sew on a button, whatever it is. They don't assume, they ask, and that feels good. They want to be sure that I'm satisfied. It's a simple thing, but it's important. We are all human. We are all human and want to be treated and respected and feel valued. In the workplace, the more we pay attention to and learn about each employee, the better they will perform. They will treat the company like it's their own. They will nurture and even cherish their job and the company. This is not to say you must coddle employees, although sometimes that seems to be true. But you can demand high performance from employees if they're clear on what the expectation is and they know what success looks like. Often there's little clarity from leadership. It seems that sometimes management assumes a little too much. After the employee is hired, there's maybe initial training, and then the new employee is on their own. I often see that there's not a solid plan to review and give feedback about the performance of the new employee in the first 30 to 90 days. This is the time frame in which employees are going to make their first impressions, learn their first impressions and work habits. If left to figure it out, they will on their own. If left to figure it out, they will do it on their own, and the habits they form may not serve the company in the manner that the leadership desires. If the only goals employees know are focused on sales or profits, it will be more difficult to get them behind those goals. That sounds like, let's make more money for the boss. The message or goal must speak to the company's why, its reason for existing. The message must also resonate with employees and the employees' needs and causes and what's important to them. Whether it's family, usually that's a home run to assume, the environment, world peace, saving the whales, whatever their thing is outside of the company. There must be some part of the company's purpose that's in alignment with the employee's desires and needs. It's not hard to find this out. As you're getting to know them, ask questions, maybe even during the interview, ask questions and listen to what they're telling you. The things that you might learn there will have an impact on how they function within the company, what type of employee they might be. And then make the conversation about them, not you. Don't just tell them about the company. Get to really know them. Get them to loosen up, warm up as best you can. All right, so moving on. So how do you define culture? How does culture impact your business? Do you have a positive culture or a negative culture? And how do you know? There are lots of books and videos and speakers and assessments on culture. Also, I'm a big fan of assessments. Some of these are used for recruiting and hiring, and others just to measure your current staff to see how to improve communication and performance. I've seen these used in many, many occasions with usually really positive results. Anything to get a better handle on if people are in the right seats. If you, as Jim Collins says, get them on the right seats on the bus, and once you get them in your company, be sure they're all working in the right place together. And anything that can give you insight to people's personalities, thought process, and tendencies can be very valuable to your business. And this information will teach you what to expect when they're interacting with other employees and customers. If you do use these tools, take the assessment yourself and share it with your team. What could be better for all of you than learning how for them to deal better to deal with you? I've observed many businesses and therefore many cultures over the years. When in the presence of a good culture, it looks very easy and very natural. I relate it to receiving great service in a restaurant. In some restaurants, they make it look very easy. I am sure that this is not true. It takes a lot of hard work and focus by many people to make all the pieces work smoothly and to end up with a great customer experience. When working with clients who have a difficult culture, it's very painful to observe all the negative aspects. Often the result of a poor culture is poor attitudes from employees, poor customer service, inefficient processes, high turnovers, high absenteeism is a big problem, low profitability, and struggling sales. All of these things are the result of a negative culture. Culture, like all other aspects of the business, is driven from the top. Some leadership understands this, and sometimes they don't. I would say that it's a sliding scale. The more leadership actively nurtures a positive culture, the better the result. Culture is very much like a garden. It must be constantly and consistently tended by leadership and management. When the work environment is good, but leadership is distant or hands-off, culture can be a little bit adrift. I've seen this firsthand a couple of times in recent years. And in these cases, it can be dangerous to let the culture seek its own level. It can depend on the strength, or it will depend on the strength of the majority of the employees. If they're somewhat of a negative bunch, then the culture will be negative. And if they're somewhat of a positive bunch, then the culture will be positive. Unfortunately, it seems that when left to their own devices, employee discussions and talk and gossip will lean towards the negative. When left with an information vacuum, they tend to make up the negative stories about leadership and about the company and about the future. If you feel your culture is lacking, how do you make improvements? Well, for starters, maybe check your attitude. We can't always be in the sunniest of moods. Understand, however, that your mood, the way you walk, talk, and interact is always being observed by your employees. If you're in a state of mind that is temporary and negative, check yourself before you walk in the door. If you've had a difficult meeting, take a few minutes to bring yourself to a point of calm and put a smile on your face before you're in the company of your employees or customers. Your employees especially are much like children. They watch your every mood, your facial expressions, and your body language. You can't fake it for very long. Your company culture will also have an external impact. Your customers, vendors, and other market forces will know of your culture by reputation. In many companies, leadership will create a mission statement and a vision statement. The mission will likely be driven by what you do. Vision is the why of the company. In between the why and the what is the how. Author Simon Sinek speaks on these issues often. He's written several books about the company cultures and the why. What is your why? The what, the how, and the why must be driven by the leadership for them to be absorbed by the employee population. If they are just represented by posters on the wall, they'll become meaningless very quickly. In some cases, you'll see mentions of the vision and mission everywhere. Occasionally, you will see or hear employees quoting from them or asking if a particular practice is in alignment with the company vision. In these companies, you'll find successful, happy people and a thriving and profitable company. One of the practices that I often discuss is benchmarking. The definition of benchmarking is to align yourself and your company with competitors who don't compete in your market or offer similar services to a different market segment. If you can find someone to benchmark with, share your practices and metrics with these partners as a way to measure your own company's performance. It may be a little difficult to measure culture in this way, but if you spend some time and open your mind and your eyes, you'll start to get a feel for the culture. You can learn something from benchmarking or any other culture-related practices. Share it with your team. If you let them know that the company culture is important to you, it will be important to them. And finally, if your company is struggling with any of the areas mentioned here, you may have a culture and therefore a company that is heading for trouble. In today's world, culture is everything. Thanks for listening today. If you find this podcast valuable, please click the like button and share it with a friend.